Chilean sharp flat. We do it all.
We are the heartbeat of the Caribbean, where the music never stops. New era TT Radio, Nett
Islands in the
Radio.
sun, islands in the fun. Welcome, welcome one and all to the land of death. Trinity to the bone, Trinity to the bone. When they come to Bacchanal, well, they can't beat we at Trinity to the bone, Trinity to the bone. Sweet woman parade upon the play. The brethren, they full of energy. Some people say God is a trinity. Paradise are not convincingly. God gave us a spirit fiery. But nothing in the world will bother we. But look at smart man gone with money. We still come out and mash up the party. Sweet, sweet TNT. Oh, how I love of this country. Sweet, sweet TNT. No place in this world I'd rather be. Sweet, sweet TNT. Oh, how I love of my country, sweet, sweet TNT. All this sugar can be good for me. Oh, from Coco to Caroni. Oh, Marabal to Sanssouci. Oh, from Scarborough to Kokori. Oh,
Sweet, sweet TNT. Oh, I'm telling you.
sweet, sweet TNT.
Isn't it really sweet, sweet TNT? Yeah, where we love up the country. Good morning to you once again, everybody. And of course, we welcome you to Every Cent Counts right here on New Era TT Radio, Net Radio. And of course, remember, we are the heartbeat of the Caribbean, taking you above and beyond. On a Monday, it is Every Cent Counts. We check in with Garth Thomas. Seems like we haven't been here for a little while, but we're here now on this Monday. So I went God to say it's always a great time. So, God, a great Monday morning to you, my friend.
And a great Monday morning, and a great Monday morning to you. I'm live, right?
Yes, you are. You're very much right.
A great Monday morning to you, Sir Charles, and to all our listeners in New Era Radio, Net
Yes.
Radio TT.
You see, I was making sure that I have the best view I can get of you this morning.
Well, I'm hoping that is that resonates with everybody. Sir Charles, there's this word. You remember back in the day of Sesame Street. You know Sesame Street is perhaps my all-time favorite TV program, TV series. You know? And you remember back in the day when Sesame Street was big. I think it's still big, not as big as it used to be. But we used to have a word for the day. Sesame Street is being brought to you today. Remember that?
Yes, yes.
So this is Sesame Street, but this is Every Cent Counts. And every cent counts is being brought to you today by the word dynasty. Some people call it dynasty, but I like dynasty.
Or dynasty. Don't- All right, I just give it. I just give it from the grassroots level.
I understand that. Surprisingly, the term carries with it a resonance that is exactly opposite. All right. So maybe there's a little play on words going on inside of there. But let me tell you what a dynasty is. A family dynasty is a cohesive economic entity in which the perpetuation of family wealth and values last for 5 or more generations. Now, such as if you take a generation as 30 years, I think that is the normally accepted definition of a generation, 30 years. So if we're talking about something that is going to last for 5 or more generations, then we are talking about something that is going to last for over 150 years. All right, now I wasn't too good at arithmetic and thing in school, but I think 5 by 35 trees are 15. Yes, it's 100 and 50 years or more. All right. Now, what is the significance of my bringing that word into focus this morning? Well, Sir Charles, I have been an advocate, and I will again engage that wealth creation template I've been talking about. But I've been an advocate for the importance of long-term vision and planning that is informed by long-term vision. So here we are at the end of October 2025. We've just had a national budget being articulated by the government and the party in power. We have a national budget. Now, Sir Charles, I am a big advocate of family budgets. Let me tell you the critical difference between a family budget and the national budget. But even before I go down that road, Sir Charles, I want to identify what a budget is, because I think that there are a lot of misconceptions surrounding the word budget. So let's deal with that first. A budget is essentially a management tool. That's what it is, Sir Charles. It's a management tool. Now, there's a tendency for us to think when we hear the word budget, we think about money. Yes, we think primarily of money. But a budget is not limited to money. That is why I hasten to define it as a management tool. Because when you apply it to finance and to your financial affairs, it is a management tool relative to the management of your finances. Yes? But in the broader context, it is really about the management of resources. Okay? Not just your finances. Now, you see why I make the distinction, Sir Charles? Because we tend to focus on what we can see. And in focusing on what we can see, we are blind to, and we lose sight of the resources that we cannot see, which is tragic, because the real energy, you see, you were just listening to Rudder on Training to the Bone and about the energy of our people and the energy of our culture. Yes? So when we tend to focus on the resources that are tangible and visible, we automatically lose sight of the resources that are intangible, that we can't see. Now, when you put that against the scientifically proven fact that 99.9% of the universe resides in the arena of the intangible. So it should suggest to us that we are not paying sufficient attention to the intangibles, the intangible aspects of the resources that we have. And I talk about dynasty because I wonder how many families in Trinidad and Tobago have sat down and decided that they want to build that family into a dynasty. Now you have such as the mafia. All right, everybody know about the mafia, and they know about the mafia families. Yes? And the mafia families are moving. I am not advocating their modus operandi and what their focus of attention and stuff is. I'm not getting into that. The point is that they have understood the value of creating something that lasts beyond the lifetime of the current people who comprise that entity. Yes? They have technically then, Sir Charles, they have a long-term vision. Now, that pushes me in the direction of talking about Eastern cultures vis-a-vis Western cultures. Now, Eastern cultures have a long-term view. Perhaps at the nexus of that long-term view is the fact that many of those cultures adhere to the concept of reincarnation. Now, I don't know, I'm not going to get into that, but I'm just saying that if you have that concept, if you have that mindset that life isn't just about your span, but it goes beyond your span, then that impacts upon the way that you manage your resources. And I am going to continue to underline that term, such as your resources. Because here we are. The national budget has been articulated. There's been a lot of people, everybody has weighed in about their perspective on it and so on and so on. I'm not going to join that crowd. Because you see, Sir Charles, it's you don't want to waste your time and energy on things over which you have no control, or at best, very, 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 very little control. You really don't want to waste your time and sweat and energy on that, Sir Charles. What's the point? Are you going to be able to change it? No. Not to any degree. All right? But what can you change? That is what you have to focus on, Sir Charles. On what you can change. And you want to be able to focus all your energies on what you can change. Because change, Sir Charles, is not an easy thing, Change is, when you say change, you talk about challenge. Yeah. And challenge requires sweat and energy and effort consistently, not every now and then, Sir Charles. Consistently. So here we are in TNT, sweet TNT. Trinities to the bone. Yes. And some of us are happy about the national budget, and some of us not happy, and some of us really ain't paying no attention to it at all. What I am saying, like I said, I'm not going to join in. I'm not going to throw in my 2 cents about the national budget. I ain't had time for that. I don't think that there's much I can do about changing that budget. All right? What I can do is that I can reflect upon the year that is past, the initiatives that I have taken, those that I failed to take. I can do an assessment of what level of efficiency I have been able to apply to the achievement of my personal objectives and to my family's objectives. I can do that. And I can say to myself, well, 2026 is ahead. Am I going to just run into 2026 and do the same thing over again and expect a different result? Such as, what they say that is the definition of. They say that is the definition of insanity.
Yeah.
All right. So it makes me think immediately of Brothers Calypso about we mad, we more than man. Because I suspect, it's only a suspicion, Church Alice. I suspect that the vast majority of families in Trinidad and Tobago are going to go into 2026 and repeat the same strategy or lack thereof in moving themselves forward in 2026. All right, they're going to use the same strategy they've used in 2025. They may have used it in 2024. They just keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So that's why, Sir Charles, Every Cent Counts today is brought to you by the word dynasty. I want to try and inject into the minds of the people who listen to this program, and indeed into the minds of every Trinbagonian, the concept of dynasty. Have you ever thought about creating a dynasty of your family? Has there ever been any discussion between yourself and other members of your family, whether it be your children, your siblings, your parents, whatever? Have you all had any talk at all about making your family a dynasty? Does it appeal to you? Because it should, you see? Because, Sir Charles, when you go on your way, whatever epitaph they put on your gravestone, you gone, all right? You can no longer play an active part in creating anything. And but in spite of that, all of us long for immortality, we all want to live forever. And I'm putting it to you that one of the best ways of securing immortality for yourself is the creation of a dynasty. Such as when you go to the homes of the rich and famous and of the people who have built dynasties, you're always confronted by pictures on the wall. Yes? Pictures of the grandfather, of the great-grandfather, and there's history. There's always history about what the grandfather did, what he participated in, and so on, and what the father, the grandfather, the great-grandfather, the uncle, all of these things are part and parcel of family history. And we who are here present at this time, whatever our family history has been, have an opportunity to develop a dynasty. And I think that is very much as it should be. But I don't think that it is in the narrative of most families. I haven't done any survey, Sir Charles, so I can't say that, out of every 1,000 people we surveyed, 2 of them had a plan for a dynasty. I can't say that. But when I look at what is happening around me, I suspect very strongly that that kind of a planning is not present. People are too preoccupied with their particular circumstance to look down the road. So you see that as a part of the definition of a family dynasty, they say family dynasties consist of multi-generational families who have shared businesses and investment portfolios that support the family members. Yes? So we're talking multi-generational. So I'm saying here we are in October, at the end of October. The question I ask is, how many of us have had a family meeting to discuss what we want to accomplish in 2026? Yes? How many of us have had that conversation? And Sir Charles, you see, you if the year begins, anytime you hit January 2026 and you have not done a budget for the family, you're behind one time. Even here in October, you're a little behind because you only have 2 months to put things in place relative to the preparation of your 2026 plan. All right. But at least if you do something now, my program today, Sir Charles, every cent counts, is a call to all our families to sit down, to have a family meeting, to discuss where the family wants to go. Yes? And to identify, because remember my definition of our budget, I'm saying it's a management tool. And the purpose of engaging the management tool is hopefully to generate greater efficiency and success in your activities. All right. And I'm saying to you, do not limit your discussion to your finances. It's a very important part. Don't get me wrong. Very, very important part. But if you limit it to your finances, then you make it so much harder, because you are focusing on one resource, which the system tells us is our most important resource, and which I do not agree. All right, finances are important, of course they are important, but more important are the intangible resources within the family. So every family should have a resource sheet, a resource identification sheet, where they list all of the resources that are available to that family. Yes?
God, let me just interrupt you a little bit. Do you
Sure.
have like a window or something open close by you?
Yes,
Or
I
a
do.
fan or something?
I
If
don't have
it's,
a fan, but I have a window.
I think it's a
Right.
window. You can just close it a little bit. Kind of the breeze coming in and it kind of
And
strong.
distorted.
At times it comes across every now and then when you get that nice valley breeze coming at you.
Okay, hold on, let me close it.
Yeah, so that's a problem. Like I think we hold at 10 seconds to get it done, because we know how the breeze is down in the valley, yeah, especially the early mid morning breeze and stuff. Yeah, so let's give God a little seconds to sort that out
All
there.
right, is that better?
Yeah, that was cool. Every now and then, it wasn't like all the time,
Oh,
but
it
every
was-
now and then when the breeze blow, I hear it blow straight through.
Well, when things get hot, you have to cool it down.
Yeah. You have to take the heat for half an hour.
Yeah. So I'm saying that the resource identification sheet is a main component of the planning tool, of the management tool that is a budget. So the points I'm making here is that do not limit your budgeting activity to just the finances, because the finances, as important as they are, and the same thing applies at a national level. But I'm not going down that road. But I'm saying the model is valid, that there are intangible resources resident in the family. You say, God, what are the intangible resources resident in the family? Well, there are skills, yes, there are talents, there are relationships, there are ideas. So, Charles, that you see that I word, I imagination, I ideas. Listen to me. It amazes me, Sir Charles, that everywhere you go in this land, in this capital city and throughout the land, that there are not huge billboards with all of Minshall's mass on it. Of course, people will say I have a bias toward Minshall, you see, but I agree, yes, for sure, I do. All right? But I have been to Disney World and I see every day Tan Tan and Sarah Boy and the technology that created those figures are on parade in Disney. All right, of course, that's another story because Disney never paid for it, but I'm not going to deal with that. The point is that we have resident examples of how imagination can change the game. Because, Charles, when when Tan Tan and Saga Boy hit the stage. I mean, whew, I don't know if you were around, boy, but it was unprecedented. We had never seen mass like that in Trinidad and Tobago. The same thing can be true, or can be said of man crab. Think about, look at the differences, such as look at man crab, all right, and look at Tantan and Saga Boy. And then, of course, there was the hummingbird earlier on, and tiger burning bright that never reached the savannah. And all, all of these examples of how imagination, such as, can change the game significantly. Why should we feel that that kind of imagination, those kinds of ideas are restricted only to one or two people like Minchell and McFarlane? Yeah, why should we feel that? Resident in each family are brains, such as, and minds, and brains and minds working together have the capacity to generate ideas through the use of imagination. Now, I think people have a little trouble when I talk about these things, okay, because they seem to be airy-fairy. And of course, they seem to be airy-fairy because they do not reside in the arena of matter. They reside in the area of the intangibles. But that's the whole point, Sir Charles. All right? That there is a resource. Sir Charles, have you ever seen the wind?
Not like what I just saw coming through your window.
All right.
You walk right into that one, huh?
No problem, no pressure. Right? Of course, nobody has ever seen the wind. But because you've never seen the wind, you don't question as to whether or not it's there. You could feel it, and in your case, you were hearing it.
Yes.
You were hearing it there. So the point I'm making here is because you cannot see something does not diminish its reality. Such as when you go to open your car, I don't know if you are still one of the few people who take the key and push it in the lock and turn it. But
No.
most people know when they're going to open the car, they press a button, which is their remote. Yes? And when they press the button, you hear a beep and a click for most cars. Okay? What has happened there? There is no visible intervention between you and the car. An electronic impulse emanates from your remote when you press the button. And that unseen electronionic impulse turns matter, which is the lock on your car, it turns it and it opens the car without there any visible interaction taking place. Now we do that, it's not a big deal. We do it, for instance, on our TVs as well. You know, we change the channels, we turn the TV on and off with a remote. Remote is a thing that we all very attached to. And the significance of it somehow escapes us. That these things that we treasure so much are all a product of invisible forces. Now, Deepak Chopra outlines the reality that a thought is an impulse of energy and information. That is just a thought in your head, Sir Charles. Okay? It's an impulse of energy and information. When you press the remote on your car, on your car lock in your hand, it emits an impulse of energy and information. It is both energy and information, Sir Charles, because it turns the lock. All right? It is information because there is a certain calibration between your remote and your car lock. All right? And that is the information. All right? So there's the energy and there's the information. The information is what creates a resonance and a communication and a connection between the impulse of energy that the remote emits and your car lock to make something happen, to make something visible and audible happen, Sir Charles. Oh my goodness. I don't know if people looking into what I am trying to say here, Sir Charles. I'm just saying that in your resource sheet, that it is important to identify the intangible resources that you have, Sir Charles. Hello. It is what you have. It may not be visible, but it is yours and it is under your control. So that if you sit as a family and you say to yourself, and you discuss among yourselves, should our family become a dynasty? You know, should our family become a dynasty? Like remember the dynasty show on TV? But the Hilton is a name with dynasty. Rockefeller is a name associated with dynasty. All right. I don't even know the African equivalents, such as, sad to see. I know a good friend of mine will pong me for that. But it is the orientation. It is the orientation. It is a sad thing. But the point is not that. Let's not get lost in that. The point is that every family resident within every family is the capacity for longevity through the creation of a dynasty. The power of that, Sir Charles, is that once that is an articulated goal, it now aligns the thinking. Oh, let me say that again. It now aligns the thinking of every member of that family in a specific direction. So instead of children growing up, they go into university, they choose some particular area of study and so on, guided by 9 times out of 10 career selection and choice of studies that align with career selection is driven by how much money they think they could make in that profession. Is this a high paying profession? All right. And that is so sad because it's just a failure to understand that it is not about the amount of money that you earn, but it is how well you manage it, whether it's big or small. The key is in the management, it's not in the size. And people would nod their head and say, yes, God, that is true, but they still have a bias toward a job that would pay plenty money. All right. That is the bias, and that is what drives career selection. And I'm saying that if families decided on what they want the future of their family to be, it's a powerful thing, because instead of children growing up and, as we say, everybody go their way. Such as, if there was ever an acknowledgement of defeat and an embracing of poverty, is that statement. Everybody go their way. Everybody do what they have to do, what they see fit is to do. It have no relationship to anybody. All right. Those who are quote unquote are successful may be kindly disposed toward their families to give them a little pull out here and there. But it has to be a little pull out here and there. It can't be continuing support. Okay. All right. I grew up in a family, we didn't have much. But whilst I was in college, one of my elder sisters, my both elder sisters were working. They weren't working in any big jobs. One was a teacher, one was a stenotypist and stuff. And it was their income that enabled the family to survive, that enabled me to get school uniform and all of the other expenses that are attendant upon going to college, books and everything else, all right, sports and whatever else. So their salaries weren't really their own. Their salaries in those days, I don't know if it happens anymore, Sir Charles, but in those days, when you get your paper, you take it home to mommy.
Right.
And mommy distributed as she saw fit.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, that was the way we did it. So I enjoyed a college education technically at the expense of my sisters. My brother was a kind of an apprentice as a customs clerk and stuff. He wasn't really turning much money and so on. But the point is that by the time I got my A levels, okay, and should have gone on to university, that didn't happen because my second eldest sister had the qualifications to go to university, and she had postponed that experience in order to work and generate the income necessary to keep the family, to keep a roof over our heads, yes, and to provide some reasonable dietary resources and so on, all right, and to pay for my schooling and so on, as well as my younger brother. So when I came out of school and got a job in the civil, in those days you used to call it the civil service, all right. In those days, I came out and I got a civil service job. Now that was regarded as a really good job, such as I got a job as a temporary clerk one, all right, in the civil service at the handsome salary such as of $113 a month, all right. It blows my mind when I think about that. $113 a month. And when after a year I got an increment, my salary went up to $118 by whole $5. All right. So my point is that the resources of the family were concentrated specifically in the area of education as the vehicle that would enable us to improve our economic standing and well-being. That was it. Okay. My aunt, who was, who lived with us and who was a seamstress, the skill that she had as a seamstress was a major component of our keeping us well clothed. Yes. So it was not a financial resource directly, but it was indirectly. All right. So I'm just saying that within the family, there were resources available, intangible resources. And within each family, and this is where I feel, such as that especially young families who have young children and stuff, those children should participate. We never had a meeting where we had this kind of discussion at all, such as, all right? But I'm saying to our 21st century families here, involve the children in discussing the economics and the goals of where this family must be. And you have to have some long-term planning. So you see, Sir Charles, when I talk about, I will quickly review my wealth creation template, which says that it's 3 simple lines. I have kept it simple, Sir Charles, because I want people to be able to apply it. You have to have a long-term goal. You have to have a finish line. Where do we want this family to finish? And if we say we want this family to become a dynasty, then okay, then you have to articulate that in special terms. But you need to have a long-term. We're not talking about a 5-year plan, such as, No, you see, when we became a nation, the doc used to talk about a 5-year development plan, and it worked for us as a nation. But it wasn't sufficiently long-term. No, we don't even have a 5-year plan, Sir Charles. I didn't hear anything about a 5-year plan, and this was year 1 in a 5-year plan, and this is what we want to achieve in year 1, and then we go a little higher in year 2 and a little higher in year 3 and so on. And nothing like that surfaced. All right? You need to have, and as a nation, we need to have a long-term plan for where we want to be as a nation. And I have said we should be talking 2050. But let me leave that. The point is that the wealth creation template is one which says there must be a finish line. So for the family, if you're going to build a dynasty for your family, you need to articulate a finish line. And then having articulated the finish line, you need to identify rather your starting line. Your starting line is what are the resources. Notice I didn't say the money, such as the resources. What resources are currently available to this family to build a dynasty? All right. Now, such as once you begin think along those lines, then you realize that it will provide some guidance now for your quote unquote bright children. Yes? To determine what kind of a profession or occupation they are going to engage. And now, with the advent of AI and all the other technological stuff that is available to the average family, every family should be asking themselves, how can we utilize this technology? Such as you realize that as a result of the internet, okay, and all of the platforms and stuff on the internet, everybody has an opportunity to touch billions of people that was never there before.
Yeah.
And so, Charles, if you got 1 million people, if you gave 1 million people a good reason for giving you $1 US every month, how much money you going to have, Sir Charles? I really wasn't good at the arithmetic, but it sounds like me to me like if you get 1 million people to give you $1 every month, on some reason, that you make 1 million US a month. Yes, I don't know of any job in Trinidad and Tobago or anywhere else, for that matter, that will give you 1 million US every month. Yes, so I am just saying, I throw that out to say that there are resources that are available, that have become available, and that every family in T&T should be sitting down and discussing how they can move themselves forward. They should discuss the concept of a dynasty. They don't have to agree with me, but they should discuss the concept and decide how far along, to what extent do they want to engage that? And if they're not going to engage that, then what are they going to engage? There must be an alternative, but there must be a family preoccupation. This is what we are about. If you have musicians in the family, Sir Charles, a musician, music is an intangible, Sir Charles, but here you are in Trinidad, the birthplace of the plan, the only what do you call it, percussive instrument that was invented in the 20th century. All right, and we still have a monopoly on it to a very great extent. One of the things that families should be talking about is that how can we utilize pan? How can we utilize kaiso? How can we utilize our music, drumming, and so on? How can we make these things economically viable? How can we monetize this thing? All right. And there are so many options and stuff that are available. So I'm just saying, such as that we are not circumscribed by a very rigid and tight system, how it used to be, where you had to get a profession, you have to study for years to get a degree, and then you have to get a job, and then you have to try and outdistance all the other people in that profession and stuff to get real money and so on. We don't have those kind of constraints anymore, Sir Charles. The internet has opened up a whole new world of opportunity. I don't know how many people are seeking to take advantage of the opportunity. Now, mark you, it is not necessarily an easy. I don't know why we want it to be easy, all right? But it is not necessarily an easy arena to engage. But you can develop the skill. I am learning the hard way that is what has to happen, because I have understood there's a need for me to engage that opportunity, and I am engaging that opportunity, catching my aunt, uncle, and ninin, but nevertheless engaging it and moving forward, however slowly. It may be much too slow for my liking, but that is besides the point. I am saying to all families in the sound of my voice that your family is so, such as family is so intrinsic to progress. You really shouldn't be thinking about trying to progress by yourself. And those who have families, especially youngsters, whose minds are more easily molded than those who have grown older. But the families need to sit and discuss and begin to shape, put the things in place, the structures in place. All right? Because such as the 3 lines of my wealth creation template, and I know I'm running out of time, so I'm going to. The 3 lines are the finish line, where the planning process begins. You decide where you want to be. You decide that if as a family you want to be a dynasty, that's the decision has to be made. Once that has been agreed on, then you have to see what are the resources that are available to us as a family. Yes? And you identify those resources, paying great attention to the intangible resources that are available. So you have the finish line, you have the start line. Then you have the timeline. So you have to decide whether you want, if you're going dynasty, you're talking about, like I say, dynasties last for more than 5 generations. But you ain't going forward as far as 5 generations. You have to say, when our generation is past, where should we have reached as a dynasty? All right. So you set that up and you break it down into smaller sections, 5-year sections or 10-year sections or whatever. And you begin, that is your timeline. So you have the 3 critical lines that you need to create wealth for your family. You have a finish line, a start line, and a timeline. But most of all, Sir Charles, you have the opportunity to engage your greatest asset, period. Sir Charles, what's our greatest asset? Our minds, the minds, Sir Charles. A family is made up of a number of people, and each one of them have a mind. The mind is our greatest asset. And so in my wealth creation template, I have given a lever by which we can access and utilize this awesome resource that is called the human mind. Yes? Remember, there's a difference between the brain and the mind. The brain is the physical organ inside the skull. The mind is the energy, Sir Charles, that is generated by the information that is in the brain. Because the brain is a vast database of information. And it's not isolated information. It is integrated information. So when you say, how can I access this awesome resource? And it is very simple. I've given it in my wealth creation template. And it is about asking yourself the question, how can I achieve what I want to achieve, given the resources that I have identified within the time frame that I have set? It's not a difficult question, Sir Charles. The importance of the question is to keep asking it all the time. And it should become an obsession, a preoccupation of the family. Once the family engages the concept, then you're looking for ideas, and you create an environment where when people get an idea, you don't shoot it down because it sounds crazy. You write it down. You don't shoot it down, Sir Charles. You write it down, and you build a resource of ideas. Victor Hugo says that there's nothing in the world so powerful as an idea whose time has come.
Well, Garth, I just wanted to interrupt you. Let's see if we could get a couple questions before we go, because it's time we're going up at 12. So, and people may want to call. So people, you can get it on the show at 281-1315. That's 281-1315. And you can talk with Garth. We have a couple minutes. So you take a couple of your calls before we get up to 12 o'clock, right? So,
yeah, definitely. I would really love to have some input about the concept of family. Now, I see there's a different concept of family planning, Sir Charles.
For real. The wording may be the same, but it's a whole different concept.
Yes.
We have a call here. Caller, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Sir Charles.
Morning, David.
Good morning.
Yeah, this interesting thing, actually, some time ago, a guy came here and I was asking him what he was doing, and he said he worked for a family house in the United States and stuff, for some Middle Eastern family, and they did well. And I said, what you doing? And he said, well, what's a family house? And he explained that, the house is to make sure that the wealth that the grandfather made, it continues intergenerationally. And the house was set up, he works in the house, he's a kind of accountant investor, looking at the money, how the money goes, where they put in the money, and he was encouraging the family to invest their money into art, you know,
Mhm.
and stuff like that. Uh,
Yep.
yeah, yeah, and so he was doing that. But I also at the same time I met years back a lawyer who shared his stories with families who lost their money from winning lotteries. And he said people think that 3 million, 4 million, 6 million is a lot of money. And he said 3 years, and he came in like 3 years, 4 years, 6 years. This families lost granny and Tanty lost $3 million, and they just lose it by giving it to the family. This one
Mhm.
wanted to fix a car. They bought tools for this one. They bought this for this one, and then because what he told Tanty was, all right, give away 1 million, hold it two, and she didn't do that. She didn't listen. She didn't because she said, how I could say no. And that conversation you talk about, and he said, well, there's so many stories like that of people who gained the wealth, but they didn't have that conversation. And the interesting thing, too, the other part I wanted to hit on was I was talking to a guy where I stayed in Princeton. He, uh, he does retired and he's on trading. He invested his money and he doing this. So he said, so I said, what is he think for that? He said, boy, you have to control your emotions. You have to be very emotional, how unemotional, how you put money where you're thinking. So this emotional thing that how I think you gotta share some of that because I think when it comes to money, a lot of people get emotional and how you say no to the short term needs. I need to get this, but we have to put our investments here that will grow over how you temper. You tell a man that you have to hold back. Tell sis, no, you can't do that. You can't get this clocks that you want, as opposed to you will get some clocks 2 years down the line. These kind of things.
Yeah.
And I think
Difficult,
that is
difficult
when
decisions.
everything is going
Yes.
haywire in in these kind of conversations around money and cooperatives and how we invest, stay low, but gain in the long term in money. And that emotional aspect of money is something that is something families will have to train children into managing money as they grow. And I think I agree with you on that. Bring the children in. And I always try to tell my cousins and then have these children in the conversations from young to understand how to manage money. So when they reach a little older, they could then now understand in, putting something in, taking a little water instead of buying the drinks and splash and going so that you will get something in the long
Yeah.
term.
Yeah. Postpone the
Yeah,
self gratification for now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Delayed gratification.
Yeah.
Haha.
Delayed gratification.
Delayed
Postpone that.
gratification
Yeah.
is the name of the game. Yes.
Thanks very much. Yeah, a good thing, and many of us really and truly don't do that sort of thing, and that's probably why a lot of us businesses that we had are no longer there because we had the children and them wrong, but not helping out in the business, not
That's right.
knowing the business, not wanting to even get involved in the business. Um, so there's no succession taking place. But Kat, we have to leave it there as we go up to 12 o'clock.
Yes. All right. Well, I just like to underline and highlight on bold print, Sir Charles, the question, the lever to the greatest asset that we have, which is our minds. And that lever is the how can I mindset. You need to train yourself to think, how can I? How can I? Because the scripture says, if you seek, you will find. And how can I is the entry point to engaging your greatest resource, that awesome database of information that you have, that brain, that mind that is generated from that information to overcome and to achieve whatever you set out to achieve, no matter how crazy it sounds. So I trust that you all will pay attention to these things. And I keep bringing these things to the show because it is something which, through repetition, at some point will sink in. So, Sir Charles, people can contact me at 368-31. Sorry. I keep lapsing back. You see the power of habit, Sir Charles.
Yes, habit is hard to break, but that's all right.
680-3185. That's my WhatsApp contact. 680-3185. Anybody who would like a little more information about the wealth creation template and about any things that we've spoken about in the show today or in the past, feel free to contact me via WhatsApp message on this number, and we can have a conversation. In the meantime, have a great week.
Okay, thank you very much, Garth. And of course, people, keep it right here on your TT Radio. We have news that is straight ahead, so stay with us. This has been Every Cent Counts with Garth Thomas.
Lord, I pray that some sweet day I will no longer have to roam Trinity to the bone, Trinity to the bone. The problems we have are plain to see. We prove we can stand the scrutiny. All I know that true democracy. How we vote is not how we party. There's no place like home, some people say. Though some have to leave to make your way. Put in your hands and know their destiny. So come home and big up the country. Sweet, sweet TNT. Lord, how I love this country. Sweet, sweet TNT. No place in this world I'd rather be. Sweet, sweet TNT. Lord, how I love my country. Sweet, sweet TNT. All this sugar can be good for me. From Cuba to Signal Hill, Arima to Charlottesville, Matlock down to Port of Spain. Yeah. We play in my solo rain. Sweet, sweet TNT. Oh, I love.
The news you need, the clarity you deserve. Local, regional, global. This is Net Radio News Now.
You're listening to News Now on New Era TT Radio and Guile Caribbean, keeping you informed and connected. I'm Derek. Good day. Prime Minister Kamala Prasad Bisesar has fired back at former CARICOM leaders who signed a Zone of Peace declaration, saying they do not understand the crime reality in Trinidad and Tobago. She said while those leaders enjoy relative calm, Trinidad and Tobago continues to face gang violence, drug trafficking, and human smuggling, adding that her government's priority is citizen safety. Her comments came as the USS Gravely and the 22nd U.S. Marine Expeditionary Unit docked in Port of Spain for joint security and humanitarian initiatives. Prasad Bisesar said the U.S. visit will strengthen anti-narcotics efforts and provide technical and infrastructure support. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister also met with the National Security Council over the weekend to review whether the current state of emergency should be extended beyond October 28th. Prime Minister Kamala Prasad Bisesar met with top security officials over the weekend to decide whether to extend the ongoing state of emergency. The Prime Minister, who chairs the National Security Council, held talks with the Commissioner of Police, Chief of Defense Staff, Attorney General, and other key ministers.